Hi, I'm Nancy, aka the Yarny Bookkeeper, and in this video I'm going to walk you through exactly how I record inventory purchases, track materials, calculate cost of goods sold, and price my handmade products using the Handmade Product Pricing and Cost of Goods Sold calculator, along with the inventory and bookkeeping spreadsheets found inside the 10-Minute Bookkeeper Handmade Business Spreadsheet bookkeeping system. If bookkeeping, inventory, cost of goods sold, and pricing feels overwhelming, this demo will show you the full-blown flow from stash purchase to finished item to sale without complicated software. If you've ever thought, I know what cost of goods sold is, but I don't know how to track it, this video is for you. So let's talk about that flow. The first step is we buy yarn. So you open your bookkeeping spreadsheet, go to the month that you bought the yarn, and then in the correct day column, enter the amount of money you spent in the inventory purchased rows. So on 7/7, I spent $13.71. So I'll just enter that there. Okay. July is updated. Profit and loss is updated. Bookkeeping done. Save and close the spreadsheet. So the second part of our flow is recording the actual details of our inventory purchases. Okay. So we'll go open the inventory spreadsheet and we'll go to the materials tab and we'll enter the details. Now I've entered most of them, but I want to show you just how easy this is. So we're going to focus on this line right here. Okay, so I bought one skein. It had 317 yards. And I paid $3.74 for it. So now you can see it's done the math for you, okay? It gives you a cost per yard because that's how I use it, okay? And it updates your total inventory on hand. Now, this is where most makers just stop, okay? And actually, when you stop, you're missing a step. You need to know your retail price for that skein so that you can price later. And if you don't do this, well, your pricing gets pretty fuzzy. So I'm going to enter $4.99 here. Oops. And that gives me a retail price per yard as well. Okay, inventory all updated, easy peasy, but leave the spreadsheet open. Now, the third part of this is the make, all right? So when I'm ready to make something, I go and I gather my supplies, my pattern, everything I need, and I sit down and I open the Handmade Product and Pricing and Cost of Goods Sold calculator, and I actually create a sheet for this specific product. Now, this takes maybe 10 minutes up front to fill this out, but it's going to save you a ton of time later on. So first I fill out the details about the project, okay? What I'm calling it, where I got the pattern. Really important, the hook size that I'm using, okay? And because I've already used the fair wage calculator, I know that my fair hourly wage needs to be $15 an hour, so I enter that. All right. So I also put in like the names of the colors that I'm using. I've read through the pattern, so I know what body parts I need to be making. I know what else I need other than just yarn, okay, for materials. So I enter those here. And then I start getting into the nitty gritty, okay? For each skein of yarn, I'm going to enter the cost per yard and the retail price per yard, okay? Now again, do this up front. It's going to save you a ton of time later. So now what I do is I print this out. And as I'm making, not only do I keep track of how many hours it takes me to make the project, but also how many yards that I'm using in the amigurumi, okay? So now we go get to that fun part. We're going to actually make this. So I print this out, and this calculator sheet actually kind of works as a whip card in case, well, in case the little witch doesn't behave and she needs to go into a timeout project bag. I fold up this piece of paper, stuff it in there, and I'm good to go with all of my materials. I know what hook size I need. And, if I left off in the middle of the project, I know how much I've used and what I've made for pieces when I come back to it. So this is really handy. It has like multiple functions. Okay. So the fourth step is all this is now you've finished the item. Okay. So you're going to come back to your spreadsheet and you're going to start entering the number of yards that you used. So for the body, I used 90 yards. And what I want you to watch is these yarn costs, okay, down here in the lower half of this. And I also want you to watch this total cost of goods sold and retail cost of materials sections, because as soon as I'm going to hit 90 here, and I'm going to hit enter, okay? Automatically, it took my cost per ounce, okay? Gave me a total cost of goods sold, gave me a retail price, okay? And it started updating these numbers. So let me just hop in here and put in the rest of the amounts. I used 6 yards, and I'm going to pause this video while I do that. Oh, but before I pause it, you want to, I'll show you one more little thing here, okay? So the hands, I used the spinning Jenny, and I used 15 yards. So watch as all this updates, okay? Everything just pops right in there. It's really very cool. Okay, now I'm going to pause this and finish it. Okay, so now I've finished entering my quantities, and look what happens. I mean, not only does it tell me how many yards of each color that I used, but it gave me my total cost of goods for each color, as well as my retail price for each color. Over here, it tells me how many yards in total I used, told me what my total yarn costs were, and tells me what my total other costs were. Now, up here in the top, right now it's giving me a suggested selling price. It's giving me a total cost of goods sold. It's telling me a total retail cost of my materials. I've put in an overhead and profit amount, and I put in my standard wholesale and retail markups, okay? And over here, it gives me other, pricing methods. So you're not sitting there for hours trying to figure out, oh, which is better, how should I price it? So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put in how long it took me to make that, which was 3 hours. Okay. So now here's everything. Yep, except there's. So here's my precise selling price. Okay. Now I'm certainly not trying to tell you what to charge for your items. I'm just trying to give you information so that you can make a sound business decision. Okay. So, I mean, you can look at the amount, the precise selling price based on the information you've entered. You can compare it to these other popular pricing methods, and you can still go out to Etsy and take a look. Okay. So here's this. Step 5 is we need to remove these items from inventory. So here we are. You know, we've come back in, we've removed our items from inventory based on the number of yards that we used. You can see that your value of inventory that's left on hand updates, and poof, you're done. Okay. So the last step in the process is we need to add this switch to our finished items inventory. So that's really pretty easy. We just open our finished inventory items spreadsheet. We get our cost to make amount from the calculator, and we enter that in here. So that was $6.87. Okay. And we're going to, here's our finished items inventory value. And go ahead and put in whatever you decided for a sell price. Okay. So now the little witch, well, she sits there for a while. Okay. And then you sell her. So what you do is you come back into your finished items inventory. You say, I sold her. Okay. Now this is assuming, it's all within the same year. You can take this little shortcut. So you had one on hand, you sold one. Quantity left is 0. And there's a problem in this formula, but I'll fix it. So your inventory amount should be 0 now. Okay. So the last step of the process is we need to go and record the sale. So let's say we sold her in September. And let's say we sold it on September the 2nd. We decided that we were going to sell it for $90. So that's our income. And we had $6.87 in cost of goods sold materials. We sold this for cash. So we have no fees. So our gross profit on that one item is $83.13. Okay. So, I mean, none of these steps take more than 10 minutes. Everything updates automatically. Okay, you can look at, your yearly totals. Here's the $90 in income. Here's the $13.71 that we spent on inventory, the $687 that we spent on materials. We've got our gross income of $83.13, which means we've got a gross profit margin of 131%. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, our net income is this, and this is what we're going to be taxed on. Okay, so that's the life cycle and the flow. If you're interested in these tools, there are links in below, and that's it. That's the flow of cost of goods sold. Have a great day.